And now, Brian, I'm going to go ahead and make you a host so you can go ahead and do your thing.
All right. So I'm still not showing as host, but
Yeah, I haven't done it yet, but do you have a copy of the agenda in front of you?
I'm going to get that from you.
It's not
This
there's not much to it. I think we just have to basically, do the roll call, approve the agenda, and then you can go. And I didn't add public comment to the agenda, but certainly we can entertain that.
Download this really quick. Okay, so I can share this out.
All right, I'm making you host now.
Okay.
So you have all the muting controls and everything, and I forgot to mute all before I handed it off to you. So.
Okay, no problem. I can mute people as it becomes an issue. All right, so let's see. We have the agenda here. You're able to see that, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a very light agenda. The purpose of meeting today was to basically kind of go over the contents of the presentation that will be given to the Planning Commission next Thursday morning. We're given 10 minutes to represent basically a PowerPoint version of the letter that we submitted that was included in the staff report. That'll give us an opportunity to add photos and a bit more, make it a little bit more consumable. I mean, the letter was only 4 pages, but it's buried within what feels like a couple of 100 pages worth of content that was provided in the staff report. So it's our opportunity to make sure that that all the key points are aired. So that's the purpose of today's meeting. As far as the, let's see my list, we just kind of went through. So people who I believe are on the call today who are subcommittee members, we have, I'll introduce myself, Brian Hollinsworth, homeowner over here on Stony Gate, where we do all the Christmas and holiday stuff. We'll see what happens this year as far as that goes. And next up would be Eric.
Yeah, hi, Eric Edelman. I'm a business representative on the CMRSSCC and a homeowner in Royal St. George. Parallel, I'm on the other side of the fairway from you, Brian.
Yep. And let's see, next is John Schroeder.
I'm John Schroeder. I'm a homeowner in Carmel Mountain Ranch since 2003. Live over in the Walden area, which is south of Ted Williams.
And Mary.
Yeah, I'm Mary Chesbro. I live in Provençal. I've been here in Carmel Mountain since '94, I believe, and lived mostly in Provençal, I think 24 years. So I've been here a long time.
Nice.
I hate to see our community be destroyed.
Feel ya. Esther. You're on mute, Esther. Let me ask to unmute you, which means I guess you need to accept.
Thank you. I'm in. Esther Berry, homeowner. How you doing, Brian?
Good.
How's everybody else doing? I haven't been in one of these meetings in a long time, it feels like.
I know. Well, there wasn't much to talk about, right? The last plans we saw were like around December-ish.
Yeah. All right.
And I think that's it. There is somebody on here's iPad. I'm guessing that's not a committee member. So let's just jump right into providing the latest update, which, I guess we need to make a vote. Are we all good with this agenda as is?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I second.
All right, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
5 yeses. Great. All right. So let me stop sharing this and move on to the next thing. Okay. So this week, the report to the Planning Commission was published. And a link went out to, I emailed the link out to the committee members today. It's available to the public. I believe an email went out to share this link with the public. It's a gigantic file. The version that we got via email, which is split into 2 parts here. So like I said, the first part is 101 pages. The second part is about 90 pages. So it's a lot of content. The portion that we wrote, that we submitted last time, was basically is the beginning of what we got here, is attachment 14. So this is about the 102nd page of the report that the commission is going to get. The first page they read is going to say basically that the city staff says that yes, they recommend approving this, right? So 100 pages later, we hope that they're going to read this, which is, you know, the 4 key reasons why this project is not a fit as it's proposed. And then supplementing that, there is the vote count, which was 13-0 from the main committee, recommending to deny the project as proposed. And then the 4-page letter that provides the, well, actually, it includes the 5-page letter that was submitted last year to the commission to recommend denying the initiation. And when they do the initiation, they're doing that based upon the land use, I forget what the D stands for, but LUD 10, which basically means, does the plan meet these 3 criteria? And the city proposed some very lightweight arguments for why it did. And then we presented some heavyweight arguments for why it did not. But, you know, it proceeded, and here we are almost a year later. And so we have included this for reference because it was, you know, honestly, it was submitted kind of last minute, so they didn't have a chance to fully digest it. And then this year, they're going to get this letter plus the letter that was just written, which is the 4-page letter, which references all the, oh, there's some issues there. It references some of the issues. There's some conversion issues, but hopefully people can read through that. It lists the major concerns that we have with the final plan that we saw, right? Our initial reaction was to it's called a preliminary 48 units with a sore thumb that blocked somebody's view very dramatically, to now what is 50 units that has a smaller sore thumb, but a sore thumb nonetheless, and is still the same height. So this goes on to explain that. And then it also talks about land use D13, which is the second set of criteria that they need to be evaluating to determine whether or not this project should proceed. So, you know, we have all kinds of reasons why this project doesn't make sense for this location as it's proposed. We want to make sure that all of our reasons align with this criteria. And so that's kind of what the rest of this letter does, is it kind of goes through each one of these, right? Level of diversity, appropriate size, yada, yada, and it provides bullet points for each one of those. So as you can see, it is buried within the overall report. So the odds of them reading it, I'm not sure how good they are at reading it, to be perfectly honest. So we want to make sure we get the highlights out of this in the 10 minutes that we have. And then there's also the authorization history, which went through and watched the past city council meeting back from 2018 when the initial resolutions were written authorizing the sale. So this lot went through a few smart growth committee meetings with the city where they were trying to figure out what to do with it, since the Caltrans didn't want to pay the $1 a year for the lease and then maintain it anymore. And so the city's like, well, what do we do with it? The law says we should try to put housing everywhere we can. So that's what they tried to do. And so this is basically summing up that story. And then during the hearing at the city council, one of the things that's very important to point out is that, you know, the offer was made for at least 45 units. Some of the conversation that happened said that it could be done within 3 floors, not 4 floors, as we've seen proposed. I think it's very important to go back and say, what was the guidance given by council is when they agreed to authorize the resolution to be written back 2 years ago. So all of the key points that are brought into this, from this letter, will be brought into a PowerPoint and then have the accompanying either quotes or images, like for example, the 70-foot building is images and things like that. One of the other key points that I did raise in this letter, and since this one does have some difficulties rendering, I'm going to bring up the my local version. So, let's see, which version is this? This is the old letter, not the other letter. This is the current letter. So one of the new points that I really want to bring into this is not only is this project not a fit for the location for all the reasons we stated, a lot of us in this community are having trouble with insurance, right? Fire insurance. And so not only is this project just not a fit as it's proposed, it's irresponsible. And I really want to drive that point home a little bit more because, you know, we're talking about smart growth and building in the right places, but we also need to build responsibly. And if homeowners in this community, existing homeowners, are having their insurance canceled and having trouble finding new insurance, how are new homes going in this community going to be able to get that insurance? Right? These are objective third parties that are not willing to risk insuring people, and yet the city is willing to risk approving projects in very high fire risk areas. Now, we know recently up in the county of San Diego, which is outside of the City Planning Commission, there's projects that are in Escondido and Valley Center in those areas where basically a 3-member commission was approving stuff and a judge went and said, wait a minute, hold on a minute. Let's look at the facts here. And you know, they overruled that. You can build in these very high fire risk areas. So that's one point to really highlight. And my ask is if folks have evidence if this has happened to you. For me, it happened when I bought here in 2014. I had AAA my entire life. It's funny, my AAA card said I was a member since 1969, which was before I was born, because I was on my parents' account. So I've had AAA forever, and they said, sorry, we can't insure you. And so we had to scramble, and thankfully I have a father-in-law who was in the military and we could get USAA. So we were able to get insurance on this house. And we asked the homeowners that we bought the house from, and they were Navy, ex-Navy, so they also had USAA. So we're lucky, but not everybody has that connection. So if anybody has experience with your insurance being canceled, I know my neighbor across the street had that issue. Please share, because I want to include that, that this is not a hypothetical fire evacuation. This is real, that people can't get fire insurance today. So that's one of the asks of the crew. So I'm gonna pause for a minute because I've been talking a long time and see if anybody else wants to add any commentary or ask any questions.
Brian?
Yeah.
Oh, I was contacted just the other day by a homeowner in CMR who'd lost their insurance. So it's definitely happening. I don't know if he'd be willing to share or not, but I'll ask him.
Yeah, and for the folks on the phone, because everybody is on mute, let me see if I can I can't go to crowd view, can I? I do have double monitors, so that at least helps a bit. If you could just type in the chat if you want to be able to speak, and then I can unmute you. And I guess even like folks who are on the committee, once you've muted yourself, you can't unmute yourself. I have to unmute you.
So I have a question to Mary.
Go ahead, Mary.
So I'm sure you guys know that, you know, Karen very nicely initiated this petition thing in our neighborhood, the Provençal, and we got like 75% response back from my community that are opposed to this. And the other 25%, we couldn't reach them. So, you know, we, out of the 75%, I had 2 people say they wouldn't sign the petition. So, you know, I'm guessing it's like 99.9% of the people in my community here in Provençal that are opposed to this. And I mean, how much weight does that carry? You know, I mean, we've got the majority of people that live in this community already and have invested money and time and, you know, lived in this community. I mean, are they going to really, will they even take that into consideration?
We can only hope. All we can do is raise all the facts that we can and hope that they will be, you know, fair and objective and reasonable. That's all we can hope for.
Well, like you said, it's just, it's another reason for them to be irresponsible, is to not even consider the people who are already living here and how we're all going to be impacted, and take that into consideration and even really give a crap about it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they do, but
So has everybody had a chance to, honestly, I don't have a presentation on my intent. I'll show you literally what I've done so far. Dun, 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 dun. My plan is to take like these, the land use designation, and say, this is the land, this is what the criteria is, and then break down each piece of criteria, which is basically what's in the letter, but just make it easier to see, and then provide some evidence that goes along with it. So that's the concept. So the D13 and D10 and D13, that's the idea. Within all of those bullets, all the points are raised in here. I think the only point, like specific to the building itself, you know, Kurt had raised something about the trees, which goes with the setback that I did not have in the letter. I do reference the 0 setback in here, but I did not reference that trees, the types of trees that they're talking about in their plans won't actually fit. I think the planter boxes are 8 feet by 5 feet in order to try and squeeze a tree in there to help soften the building a little bit. Those won't physically fit. So that's something that I got to work into this document. So or into the presentation. So if there's anything that, if people have read this letter, if they think I missed anything specifically to highlight, let me know, because it's essentially all the content comes out of this current letter and then the previous one from last year. So 9 pages worth of content to pull from. And while people,
Brian, I like the direction you're going in here. You mentioned some photographs and things before. What did you have in mind?
yeah, so in this report, I think it's actually in the 2nd page. So Karen had some good photos from the cars that was presented last year. So want to use those within the new plans that or this new report that we just got, but I can't seem to make the other report show. Part 2. This is part 2. We just got this, so haven't fully clicked through it, but I believe this has, yeah, this actually has the plans in it. So within these plans, there are things, the property line is one of the things that I wanted to call out, because the property line is adjacent to somebody's patio. So I'd have to pull up the exact one here. This will show it. This is a Provençal building right here, and this is somebody's patio. And this right here, this heavy line is the property line according to the survey.
What? Is this Matt close to us? I don't know. I just loaded it up.
Do you want, do I need to mute somebody? Is that Dave
That was
Ferguson?
David Ferguson.
All right, I'm going to mute you, David.
That's fine.
Sorry. Oh, there you go. So this, the heavy black line is the property line. And as you can see, it pretty much goes right up against this person's patio. Originally, the first building we saw, the building covered the entire garage, which basically eclipsed these units that are right here. The building has been cut back to about where this line is here, so it doesn't directly eclipse these buildings anymore. That was the only concession that the builder made, and that was because of Karen's presentation. And then the commissioner made a comment on that, so shout out. This property back here has been maintained by Provencal for almost 30 years, right? Because this was all built by the same builder. There was in one meeting, there was talk about doing a prescriptive easement here. I did ask about that to Scott in our last meeting, and he didn't say anything about an easement. I have not read through 200 pages worth of documents that we just got yet to see if the word easement is in there. And I don't even know if find and search will actually work in the document, given the corruption in the file that we've seen in the text. So this is an example of something that I would bring up, right, when it comes to the size and bulk, is an illustration of how close this is to the other development. One thing that we got in this that we haven't seen before, and apologies for, you know, scrolling on the fly through a gigantic file, they have almost a photo rendering of the building when it comes to the height. There's on the first page, I'm not going to scroll back up, but there was a list of what those variances were that they supposedly earned for being able to have very small lockers for the people who are going to try to live there. This here, this shows where does the 76.5 feet come from, right? This is street level. So from well, I think sidewalk level. But basically the whole concept of having 0-foot setback and trying to water it down by saying, well, the garage level is actually a little bit higher, right? The garage ground floor is about 10 feet higher. So it's only a 66-foot building, right? That's, the reality is when you're on the street, you're looking smack dab at a 76.5 foot. And the 76.5 goes all the way to the top of the stairs. The top of the parapet, which is what kind of blocks all the AC equipment from the front, that counts toward the top. The stairs do not count toward the overall height. So even still, it's still 72.5 feet with the part that counts. So just calling that out. And there is an elevation here of 630.5 feet above sea level. What would be really nice is to match that up against the sea level of what the Provencal is and get that difference in elevation. But this is something to show in a side-by-side of like, highlight this little section of this, this elevation. We know that from a window perspective, it does look fortress-like, to quote the comments that came into, like, I mean, look at this. The city staff called this fortress-like, and they were appeased by a more textured drawing. Maybe this has a bit more texture to it, right? It still is fortress-like. Now, I did, like I said, scroll through here really quick. Somewhere in here is a colorized version. Here we go. So there's a colorized version of this. It's still a lot of windows. It does kind of remind me of my college dorm building that I lived in. These are the trees that don't know how they're going to physically fit in the space that's allocated. So these are kind of imaginary trees. One of the other pictures I haven't seen in this presentation, but what we saw last week, it had a lot of imaginary buildings on a hillside. So I want to call out those imaginary buildings that we saw last week, because there's nothing around this project that looks anything like this at this height. And the bulk and scale is the key word from this. So these are kind of some of the images, you know, straight out of the plans to highlight, because again, what's the chances of, this is, I think, one of 4 projects that they're going to be reviewing that day. So what are the chances of them actually looking at the details, right? They're just going to rely on staff's recommendations. So it's up to us to call it out. That's the approach that I'm taking here. So this is the trees, and you can see all of these trees that are drawn in here, but the actual lot to fit the tree, maybe it's on the next one, it shows that it's only like 8 5-gallon plants. Some of these are 24-inch boxes, trying to squeeze into these super small planter boxes. And Kurt, being a landscape guy, understands what trees go where and how big they get. And these branches would basically go straight into people's buildings, right? So that would create a nice little rodent problem to have trees adjacent to your building. So just a random thought there. Yeah, here it is, the 5x8 tree planting area. So trying to put a 24-inch box in the middle of that in each one of these little things. And you can see the canopy, how much it overlaps all the way around. That's not enough space to fit it in. So I didn't get that in my letter, so I'll add that to the presentation. And it is only 10 minutes, so.
You have to talk fast.
Gotta talk, I'm good at that. So once I have an organized deck, I can get through this stuff pretty quick. I do present pretty regularly in my line of work, so it's not a problem.
Another thing that I was concerned about is Rick, who is our Provençal board president. He was telling Karen and I that when they did the traffic testing out here at the light, that the whatever it is they use as traffic to take that information, it's like not a wire or something. I don't know what they use. It didn't even go across the whole street. So like it didn't really capture, like it was not, I can't remember if he said it wasn't covering the right-hand lane. So like people that are going to turn right versus turning left. And that he seemed to think that the way that it was laid out wasn't going to give an accurate, view of really what the traffic was there.
Is there any photos? Are there any photos of that?
No, unfortunately, he didn't take photos.
Okay. Didn't mention it. Did the count of people in the meeting go way down? I'm not seeing a whole bunch of people. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 14.
See 14, there were 15.
Okay. So yeah, definitely the commentary on the traffic count's good. You mentioned earlier the petition for all the folks within Provençal. Is anybody from Provençal planning to present?
I don't think so. I mean, I guess we weren't really sure, like, if anybody could present or.
Yes, you can. So the instructions are basically there's a web form to sign up. And then the web form you can submit to have public comment on an agenda item. And they ask you to put in 200 words, and then you get the 3 minutes, but it's done via teleconference. What I would recommend doing is getting it together and sending and seeing if you can get it sent by Sunday. If we can talk to Xavier about having Provençal have their own time block, being that it's the most impacted community by this project.
So
the petition should be covered by Provençal.
So someone talking about it?
Yeah.
Karen, do you know if if you guys had talked about that? I don't know if is Karen there?
Yo, let me unmute her, sorry. I'm trying to hit it. Ask to unmute. wait, I'm hitting ask to unmute. Okay, hit it. And then Karen, you should have a dialogue, but for some reason it's not going through.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Can you? Okay, good. Okay, I'm sorry. What was your question?
So I was just, they were asking if someone from Provençal was going to talk at the meeting, and I didn't, we had never really talked about that, like when in my communication with you and Rick. Do you know if Rick mentioned anything about that?
I did bring it up to Rick about him speaking at the meeting, and he wasn't comfortable. He didn't think he could handle the technology in order to attend the Zoom meeting.
Okay.
I did bring up and suggest that maybe he could read a statement at the meeting, and that's as far as it got. So I did broach it to him.
So, Brian, so I'm thinking I'm going to ask Mary. She's one of our other board members, and she wrote a really nice letter. She just sent us a copy of it, and she talked very eloquently. I mean, I think she could do a really good job. So if she needs the details about how to do all that, Brian, can I have her like email you or?
Yeah, I can provide the instructions for how it works.
Okay.
Otherwise, I can incorporate into the overall community feedback, because there is a section for level and diversity of community support, where I can mention, that petition, so it definitely can cover it. But it would be better to come from the people themselves, from that community. So.
Okay. Who is going to mention the Stephanie's petition that has like well over 800 signatures on it? Is someone planning to mention that?
That would be great coming out of Provençal as well, but otherwise it would go into the level and diversity of community support.
Yeah.
So you said we'd only get 3 minutes?
It's unless you have time seated by others. And so it looks like they were given a maximum of 10 minutes.
So who was given a maximum?
So we were given 10 minutes max for doing the community presentation on behalf of the committee, the community planning group committee.
But if somebody else puts their name in there, then it can be cumulative too?
So we can ask now, right? It's a week before the thing happens. So we can send them a note and ask and just say, hey, if we get you this presentation by Sunday, can you help? Because the presentation, because they're going to locally drive it, right? I'm just going to say next slide, right? Next slide. It's going to be like that, and I'm just going to be a voice on the phone. So it's got to be a very simple, no animations or anything crazy like that.
So basically just, like you say, talk about, we've lived in the community and we live in Provençal and what our concerns are, kind of just summing up what you've said and all that.
Yeah, and from your community, from your point of view.
It's really important that if we talk about petitions that, well, I mean, anybody can do anything they want as a private citizen. So Mary, I guess if you mention your petition effort, just make sure you highlight that was done as a private citizen and not in coordination with the community council, because that would be a Brown Act violation.
Okay.
It's you can do whatever you want as a private person, and that's fine. We just, the board can't sanction it, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that's why it'd be better coming from the Provençal. The Provençal HOA, obviously impacts that community the most and should be the ones talking about it.
Yes, it would be really, really good to have several people from Provençal, or at least one, and if several could pool time and make a longer statement, that would be good.
So is there, I know everybody probably just got a hold of these plans recently as well and hasn't had a chance to fully digest them. Well, the whole staff report for that matter. So my ask, for this, we're not going to have another meeting before this gets submitted, but I just wanted to share the kind of the overall outline and concept of what we're going to be working on. I wish I would have been a little bit further on this, but we did just get the report and see where this is going to land, which provided a little bit more content. And thankfully, I got a day off tomorrow to really put my head down to work on this. So any other contributions to content or any questions, just ideas? You kind of know where it's going to head.
I think you've got it well in hand, at least from the board perspective. But we need more people from the community for sure.
Yeah, why can't I find chat?
I have, can I just interject here?
Yes. No.
Okay.
Sorry.
I've been doing a petition drive. I helped Provençal, and if the I don't know if Mary is going to speak or the Mary that's the board member, but to cover Mary Chesborough, it could be, you could say it was driven by the HOA president and then a community member, me. So that would put you out of the loop, Mary, for any Brown Act violation, because really it was from me, and you can say Rick drove it. And I have, I've been putting it out to the business owners of the shopping plaza. I put it out in emails to 3 of them saying it would be very powerful if one of them could phone in, but I have not had any response. I know some of the business owners have emailed the city, and I have 9 out of the 17 business owners sign a petition, and I'm working with the owner of OG's, and I'm going to help her set up a letter, and hopefully all those petitions will be sent from the owner of OG's. And I will bring it up again, how powerful it would be if she or someone from that plaza could speak.
Mm-hmm.
That would be.
So, yeah.
What time is it at?
Starts at 9. We're the last item on the agenda. I quickly looked at the agenda today. There's a project in Black Mountain Ranch that's I don't think they're going to have much discussion on, even though I think personally they just keep chipping away at that mountain into more high fire risk danger and taking away the habitat land. Oh, finally I found the chat window. Sorry. Let me stop sharing because it's causing me to lose windows.
Yeah, it gets crazy when you're sharing.
I kept trying to find the chat window to see what people were saying.
Oh, if you click on participants, both should come up.
Yeah, now I got it when I'm not in screen share.
It's just when
Sorry, lost my train of thought. Oh, the agenda for next week. Let's see here. Come back here. I just had it. Agendas. So the Black Mountain Ranch over there by 4S, right? They're putting in these $1.5 million homes, because we need more of those in the neighborhood. Let me re-share again.
So will we be on video or will we be on phone?
We're going to be on phone, is my understanding.
So they wouldn't see us; they would only hear us.
Yeah, that's the way I understand it. They basically provided like a conference bridge number.
So that means that you will not be able to see them either. Is that correct, Brian?
I don't know if they're going to live stream it. I don't know. That's a good question. Personally, I prefer to have eye-to-eye contact so you can read the body language. But I haven't been given any kind of a Zoom link or WebEx or any kind of other technology. It's the only instructions I've seen are here, this is the actual agenda for the 23rd. And virtual hearing. And here's the dial-in number and the access code. And so there's this, if you have an agenda public comment, you do this web form and then you have 200 words. And I think what they're going to do, they're going to submit them into the written record for the relevant item, right? So that's, I don't think they're going to sit and read, every comment that comes through. That would take a very long time. Then there's also the written materials, right? Which could be distributed to the Planning Commission. The deadlines above are, okay. And then how to watch the meetings. So view the meetings online. So yes, you can view it. Don't know if there's going to be a delay, from when we're on the phone versus what we see on the internet. There could be a delay, which could be a bit tricky for a presenter. For a watcher or viewer, it doesn't really matter. So the first thing, expedite. Let's hurry up and build. So the Black Mountain Ranch sub area, 84 multifamily residential on site, and transfer the 19 affordable over closer to the high school area. So they're building basically $1.5 million, $2 million homes, and then offsetting that where they put all the other apartment buildings. The next one is probably related to that or another project. Then North Park, 3.5 acres. Looks like maybe it's a correction. I think they're just making a correction to something. And then the Alante project is last. So it starts at 9. We could be on at 10 or 11 or 11:30. We don't really know. So that's the bad part is, you got to block out half the day to attend this thing and wait our turn. So that's how the things currently stand.
Hey, Brian, John here. I know we spoke a little bit about this, about your 10-minute period of time you have. Is that pool time? Yeah, go ahead.
We asked Javier, how does it work? And he said that's how it works. You guys we can give you 10 minutes. So this was
okay.
This is part of like filing this with the staff report and everything else. So it's kind of outside the standard submit your form public comment type thing.
Okay, so then nobody pooled time to get you up to a total of 10 minutes. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so then you're pretty much guaranteed. Yeah, because I think I told you, sometimes the chairman can just, at their discretion, reduce the amount of time each person has to speak. But okay, it sounds like you've kind of got something outside that. It's kind of a firm 10 minutes.
Yeah, and in the presentation style, right, we'll start off with like, here's the summary of the key points. So it's like, tell them once and then tell them again and tell them what you told them type, style. So they'll have the report in advance, the deck in advance. And if they say you only have 5 minutes, okay, great. Here's the key points. You have the deck. You've had it for 4 business days, or 3 full business days before this meeting, along with everything else. So here's the highlights. And I'm available for questions. All right. Anything else, or are we going to wrap this up?
So, Brian, you don't need anybody to pool time for you then. You just can speak.
Correct.
Okay. All right. And then the Mary from the HOA, not Mary Chesborough, but the other Mary is possibly going to speak. And that's all we know so far?
Yeah, so I'm not out there coordinating with people to speak. I'm just working on this presentation.
Okay.
And people are feeding me great information to go into the deck that we're all discussing right now. To make, so we're all up above board as far as what the content's going to be.
Okay.
So if there's nothing else, I'd say this would be a good time to adjourn this meeting and thank everybody for their time.
Okay.
So do we need to formally? Or we just adjourn?
Yeah, if you want to formally, I think you have to. Well, you can adjourn the meeting and then stop sharing, and then I can end it from my side.
Okay. Great. So with that, we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting. I think I've already stopped sharing my screen. And yeah, you're the host, so you can end the streaming and end the Zoom meeting. So,
Okay, Brian, thank you very much for all of your work on this. I know it's a lot.
Brian. Yeah.
And you know, we know how much work it is because a lot of us just worked on this letter for the city regarding the trails project, and you know, it is a huge effort, and we're up against the city staff that submits 100-page. I don't know what they say for 100 pages. I'll read through it, but you know, we're small fish doing the work of many people. So I appreciate it, Brian, and we all appreciate it.
yeah, and the golf course